Amazing transformation, millionaire discovers fiancé's shocking act against his elderly mother. Jake had it all, or so he thought. At 32, he was a self-made millionaire, his tech startup thriving beyond his wildest dreams. But even the gleaming fortune paled against the warmth and wisdom of his mother, Evelyn, whose humble roots made her a beacon of love and support that was unshakable. Riding high on the excitement of his impending wedding to Sarah, a dazzling woman he had met at a business conference, Jake felt on top of the world. That is, until fate delivered a cruel twist. Walking through the neighborhood he had always known, Jake was buoyed by nostalgic memories that echoed his childhood struggles and triumphs. His mother had sacrificed everything for his success, establishing unwavering family values that had formed the very foundation of who he was. But on this seemingly ordinary day, that foundation began to tremble. As he approached his childhood home, Jake overheard Sarah in a heated discussion over the phone. "How can anyone live like that? It's so outdated and pathetic," she scoffed, her words slicing through the air like a knife. Indignation coursed through him. His heart sank as he realized that she dismissed was the life his mother had built, a life of simplicity and genuine connection, values that Jake had always cherished. How could the woman he planned to marry harbor such contempt? Before he could process his emotions, Jake confronted Sarah. "What did you just say about my mother?" Rage surged through him, potent and raw. But instead of owning up to her words, she retaliated, twisting his intentions. "You're just sensitive. She's the one holding you back, living in her little world of dreams." The words cut deeper than anticipated, as the chaos between them spun out of control. Why wasn't she seeing the ugliness of her own dismissal? Doubt wormed its way into his mind, as he wrestled with the tight knot of confusion in his gut. Was he so eager to join her glamorous life that he risked sacrificing the relationships that mattered most? The thought left him cold. Jake remembered nights spent in deep discussions with Evelyn about dreams and ambition. The sacrifices she had made were painted with love, a stark contrast to Sarah's ruthless ambition. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As events unfurled, Jake's emotions turned tempestuous. Doubts shredded the perfect image he had of Sarah. Her ambition was alluring, but did it come at the cost of family? A suffocating silence enveloped him, as a wave of realization crashed down. Sarah's disdain for Evelyn and the quaint life she cherished threatened to pull him into a chasm of isolation. Yet, just as he arrived at this painful truth, a hidden journal belonging to his mother caught his eye. It whispered of dreams, sacrifices, and silent worries about his future. Staring down at its worn pages, revelation clawed at his heart. Could he forsake the love of a mother who had given everything for him? The gripping tension between two worlds filled his mind, the allure of wealth and the comfort of familial love. The choice he faced echoed louder than ever, leaving him haunted by the realization that the road ahead might shatter everything he thought he understood about love, success, and loyalty. Driven by urgency and confusion, Jake took a deep breath, ready to confront what lay within that journal, knowing it would either save or doom him. As Jake opened the journal, the scent of aged paper wrapped around him like a familiar embrace. Words spilled forth like secrets from the past. Evelyn's elegant handwriting danced across the pages, revealing snippets of their life together, moments of laughter, dreams of grandeur, and heart-wrenching sacrifices. Jake could feel the weight of each written word. His mother had poured her heart into these entries, balancing a job and motherhood with grace, always believing in his potential. But alongside her unwavering support, there was an undercurrent of worry. She expressed her fears of Jake losing sight of what truly mattered in her world. Love and family reigned supreme, overshadowing the glitter of wealth. Jake, he murmured to himself, feeling the chasm between his choices widen. Was he truly ready to sacrifice the love and wisdom that had shaped him for a life defined by money and status? The more he read, the more he recognized his mother's quiet intuition about the world he was about to step into. Had he been looking for validation in Sarah's ambition, only to overlook the true riches of his childhood, with each page, Jake's doubts transformed into clarity. He searched for connections between his mother's thoughts and his current reality. Why am I so drawn to Sarah's world? He questioned, finding the answer rooted in ambition, yet bereft of empathy. The journal highlighted something crucial: wealth didn't mean sacrificing compassion or family. There was a balance that could exist, and he had ignored it in pursuit of status. That night, sleepless and restless, Jake grappled with his decision. Returning to his mother's home, he could visualize her warm smile and the way she fiercely loved him despite all odds. He had a choice to make: align with Sarah's dream world or forge a path that honored his mother's values. If he chose the former, he risked losing parts of himself that he valued most. Jake forced himself to confront another uncomfortable truth: he had buried his own voice beneath Sarah's ambitions. Had he lost the essence of who he was, what made him tick? Making his way through the pages, he found a section dedicated to aspirations, specifically those that involved Jake and his personal dreams. He realized that he had not pursued his passion for creating spaces that nurtured community and interest he had tucked away for far too long. As dawn broke, illuminating the pages scattered around his childhood bedroom, clarity washed over him. The choice was not merely about Sarah, but about what kind of man he wanted to be. Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose building within him, a determination to not only honor Evelyn's sacrifices but to reclaim his ambitions, merging them with his values. With each sunrise, he envisioned a life where success wasn't measured purely by financial gain but by nurturing genuine connections, just as Evelyn had taught him. It was time to take a stand. Reaching for his phone, Jake knew he had a conversation to initiate with Sarah. This time, it would not be about confrontation, but a candid discussion about what lay ahead for both of them. Before he could dial, the implications of his decision rippled through him, amplifying the tension. Could he bridge the gap between his world and Sarah's without losing himself? The path he stood on felt precarious, but he couldn't ignore the voice whispering truths from the journal that compelled him to grow. He was ready to face the conflicts that awaited him in pursuit of a life redefined. As he took a deep breath, Jake dialed Sarah's number, heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and resolution. The moment had come to face the music of their ambitions and discover whether love could indeed transcend the chasms of their diverging dreams. Jake placed the phone to his ear, his pulse racing as he waited for Sarah to pick up. When her voice finally broke through, light and effervescent, it brought back memories of a time when their priorities intertwined seamlessly. Yet, now, he felt an unsettling dissonance. "Hey, Jake. Is everything okay?" she asked, genuine concern lacing her tone. He hesitated, words choking in his throat. How could he share his newfound clarity without shattering the fragile balance they had built? "I've been doing some thinking about us, our future." There was a moment of silence on the other line, filled with anticipation. "What about it?" As he spoke, he felt every word echo the resolve that had blossomed within him. Jake articulated his vision of success not just in material terms, but derived from the warmth of community and the values his mother upheld. He sensed Sarah's initial uncertainty as she listened, her silence punctuating the phone call like a drumbeat of impending conflict. "Jake, I get where you're coming from, but we both know that ambition is what drives our careers," she responded, her voice cool, yet edged with urgency. "You can't seriously be thinking about stepping back now, not when I'm so close to breaking through." He clenched his jaw. Her ambition had drawn him in, but now it felt like a trap. "But what about family? What about love? My mother devoted herself to us. Where do we fit in the picture?" Sarah's voice hardened. "You know how hard I've worked for this, right? If you don't support my dreams, then maybe we need to rethink some things." A flicker of anger pierced through Jake's vulnerability. His heart raced with every syllable, every conviction they had bounced between them. "And what if your dreams overshadow mine? I don't want to sacrifice everything I care about. Those values came from my mother. I want to build something meaningful, Sarah, not just chase dollars." He could almost feel the tension radiate through the line as Sarah absorbed his words. The unease transformed into a standoff, and he braced himself for her response. "Jake," she said slowly, icy resolve creeping into her tone. "I can't believe you'd suggest I should slow down for this ideal version of life you have in mind. We could be millionaires, Jake. Is that not worth it to you?" Jake felt the distance between their aspirations widen far beyond what he had anticipated. This wasn't merely a conversation about ambition, it was about identity. He took a deep breath, his frustration pivoting into clarity. "You're right, maybe I don't want to chase after the kind of life that leaves people behind or sacrifices community for profit. I want to create spaces where families can thrive and connect, not just be caught up in the race." Silence echoed once more. As the moment stretched between them, Jake wondered if he had crossed a threshold that might not be mendable. A tension rested in the air, heavy with implications. "Jake, maybe you don't understand what it takes to succeed in this world," her voice cracked, uncertainty breaking through her bold exterior. "I do understand," he replied, his voice steadier now. "I just choose to act differently." The reality of his choice resonated deeply. With every passing second, he realized that he was crafting a definition of success that honored both his mother and his own values. As the conversation neared an impasse, Jake knew that the next moment would be pivotal, a decision forcing him to confront the true cost of love versus ambition, but as he hung up, a mixture of relief and dread consumed him. Unknowingly, he had set the stage for an escalation that might further widen their rift, and soon Sarah would unleash a deeper conflict, one that would challenge everything he believed about loyalty, love, and ambition. In that moment, he heard a faint noise outside, pulling him back to reality. A figure loomed by the door, and as he walked closer, his heart sank. It was his mother, Evelyn, a glimmer of worry etched across her face. "Jake, is everything okay?" she asked with a tenderness that pulled him in. As he glanced back at the phone, the question remained, could he navigate this storm without losing sight of the roots that anchored him? The weight of his choices pressed heavily upon him as he prepared for whatever would come next. The real test was yet to unfold, and with that thought, he steeled himself for the inevitable confrontation that lay ahead. Jake watched his mother's expression shift as she studied him closely. Her worry felt palpable, a weight he didn't want to carry. The warmth in her gaze ignited a fierce protectiveness within him. How could he share the turmoil in his heart when her presence alone highlighted what was most important? "Jake," she began gently, "I could hear the fear in your voice. What did Sarah say?" He paused, considering his next words carefully. Speaking about his feelings meant venturing into uncertain territory, but the conversation was necessary. "We were discussing our future. I shared my thoughts about redefining what success means to me, but it didn't go well." Evelyn moved closer, her eyes soft yet piercing. "What do you mean? Did she not understand your perspective?" "She did," he replied, the tension creeping back into his voice. "But she sees it differently. It's all about ambition and what we can achieve materially. I told her I want something more meaningful, a life that honors those who matter most." Evelyn nodded, but her expression was conflicted. "Jake, it's good to aspire toward meaning, but can you also provide for yourself, for a family? Life in this world demands balance." Her words struck hard, planting seeds of doubt in his mind. Was he being impractical? As he opened his mouth to respond, he felt a surge of determination rise within him. "Mom, I think I've learned something important. Maybe success isn't just about personal gain. It's about building something that honors the values we grew up with: family, connection, authenticity. But is it worth sacrificing love for ambition?" Evelyn's brow furrowed as her mouth faltered, weighing the implications of his question. "You shouldn't have to choose one over the other, Jake. Finding someone who shares your values is essential. Yet, you must both be realistic." He felt a cold prickle of anxiety. Was Sarah truly the wrong choice? Did their ambitions clash in ways he couldn't comprehend? "Mom, I just feel like there's this chasm forming between us, and every time I try to reconcile it, it only grows wider." "Conflict is often rooted in fear of loss," she suggested, her voice steady yet filled with concern. "What do you fear losing?" The question echoed around his thoughts. Was it Sarah's ambition, or the dream he once had of them both succeeding together? A new layer of conflict unfurled within him, a subtle realization creeping in. What if he could find a way to embrace both his values and his relationship? "I guess I fear losing her, Mom. But I also fear losing myself," he admitted, fastening his gaze on the floor, where shadows danced in the fading light. A knot of anxiety formed in his stomach as he thought of Sarah's mounting frustrations. Evelyn placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "Then it's time to face your fears, Jake. Reach out to Sarah and lay your cards on the table. But remember, it's not just about what you want. Try to understand what drives her, too." Driven by his mother's advice, Jake took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of courage ignite. He couldn't let this conflict fester without confronting it head-on. If he truly wanted to build a life with Sarah, he would need to give her the opportunity to understand his vision or risk losing everything. As he resolved himself to initiate this conversation, a sudden burst of realization hit him. He had even more to discover about his own capacities and priorities. Could he articulate his vision clearly enough to not only express his fears but allow Sarah to share hers? The notion brought a wave of uncertainty, but also excitement. It was time for transformation, perhaps not just for himself, but for both of them. He glanced at his mother, who nodded, a glimmer of hope sparkling in her eyes. With a renewed sense of determination, Jake stood tall, ready to challenge the emotional distance between him and Sarah. He picked up his phone, heart pounding with a blend of fear and expectation, but before dialing, a sinking feeling crossed his mind. What if the truth he was about to reveal could alter the course of their relationship? Irreparably. He had to know, but the question lingered as uncertainty gripped him. Would this confrontation solidify their bond, or fracture it completely? Rising tension filled him as he prepared to confront his truth, not only for himself but for love and ambition's delicate balance. Jake took a deep breath as he stared at the phone screen, its glow illuminating his face. His fingers hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. The weight of his decision felt monumental, a tightrope walk between the life he envisioned and the reality he faced. He understood his values, but could he express them in a way that wouldn't send Sarah running for the hills? He needed clarity now more than ever. With every beat of his heart, he felt an urgent need to bridge the increasingly wide chasm between them, an echo of fear bouncing inside him. What if laying his true self bare only revealed irreconcilable differences? He exhaled slowly, trying to center himself. Maybe he didn't have to walk this path alone. The conversation with his mother had ignited something deep within him, a drive to explore more profound truths about himself. He needed to understand what lay beneath the surface of his conflict with Sarah, what her ambitions truly meant to her and how they intersected with his own. Setting aside the phone for a moment, Jake began jotting down his thoughts in a small notebook he kept on his desk. He wrote in a frenzy, ideas spilling onto the page, pinning down his aspirations and fears. What did he fear losing? He listed them: Sarah's love, their shared dreams, his authenticity, and even his place in the world as he envisioned it. Next, he contemplated Sarah's ambitions. What drove her? What did she hope to achieve? The lines on his notepad formed questions. Would her vision of success fit into his? Would she view his desires for authenticity as naive or unworthy? As he penned his thoughts, he realized he needed to frame this conversation not just around what he wanted but what they hoped to build together. He no longer wanted to view the conversation as a potential fracture but rather as an opportunity for real connection and revelation. They could evolve together if they were both open and willing. With this new perspective, Jake picked the phone back up, hands steadier now. He prepared to dial Sarah's number with a renewed intent to share, to inquire, to understand. As the call connected, he felt a surge of anticipation accompanied by a flicker of fear. Her voice was warm and familiar, yet shifted subtly upon his greeting. "Jake? Is everything okay?" "Hey, Sarah," he replied, his voice tentative but growing stronger. "I really need to talk to you about something important." He could hear the slight shift in her tone, the way she braced herself for the weight of the discussion. They both loved deep conversations, but this carried the potential to unsettle the foundations of their relationship. To him, it felt like leaning into the unknown, but wasn't that what they needed? A moment to unify their perspectives instead of allowing vagueness to suffocate what could be beautiful. He launched into the emotions swirling within him, now equipped to articulate the fears and hopes he had recognized during his introspection. As he spoke, he monitored the shifts in her silence, searching for its meaning. However, he equally prepared himself for questions he hadn't anticipated, questions that could challenge his preconceived notions about success, ambitions, and love. "Jake, you know I want to support you," Sarah interjected, her voice steady yet cautious. "But what you're saying feels drastic. Is this about us?" Something within him constricted at her words, a mixture of anxiety and newfound resolve. There were layers to yet uncover, and all he had started was the first brushstroke of a larger canvas. Suddenly, he realized that this conversation could transform everything. The implications began swirling around him, and he felt a rush to navigate the complexities of their lives intertwined. Each emotion rippled through him, amplifying the significance of their dialogue. "Let us explore what this means for us," he felt himself say, though the idea was both empowering and daunting. The call shifted, morphing into a real discussion about dreams and fears rather than a mere negotiation of individual ambitions. It was a revelation wrapped in uncertainty, but one that also promised potential. In that charged moment, Jake tasted the power of vulnerability. Yet, as he spoke, an unsettling thought broke the surface. What if this conversation unlocked hidden truths, challenges that neither of them was prepared to face? The weight of their future loomed large, the stakes higher than ever before. Would this be a turning point, or would it shatter everything he cherished? Each revelation could be a double-edged sword, leaving Jake teetering on the brink of transformation. Feeling the clock tick in the background, he pressed to delve deeper into the conversation, only to sense rising tension when another unexpected question emerged from Sarah's lips: "What if our ambitions are fundamentally incompatible?" Jake's heart sank at Sarah's question, an echo of doubt that had been lurking beneath the surface. He felt time slow, each second stretching longer than the last. The air crackled with tension, her straightforwardness jolted his resolve, pulling him back toward the edge of uncertainty. It wasn't just a rhetorical question, it was a challenge, one that threatened to expose cracks he hoped were still hidden. "What do you mean?" he managed to reply, his voice betraying an undertone of confusion. Each word felt like a careful step across fragile ice, the delicate balance of their relationship resting on whispers rather than declarations. "Jake, we both have dreams," she replied, her tone a blend of concern and determination. "Yours involve personal discovery, authenticity, and maybe even helping others find their path. But mine? My goals are rooted in crucial achievements: career stability, recognition, building something substantial. What if those ways of success conflict down the line?" The stark reality of her words began to wear on him. What if their ambitions couldn't coexist? The vision of their shared future, one they had crafted with hope and excitement, now felt precarious. He braced himself, trying to absorb the sharpness of her question while sorting through his own emotions like a tempest in a bottle. Jake took a steadying breath. "What if they don't?" he countered, feeling the protective instinct rise within him. "What if there is space for both our paths? Isn't the goal to find a way to merge our dreams rather than viewing them as opposing forces?" A moment of silence hung between them like a charged particle, each measuring the authenticity of the other's emotional investment. "I wish I could believe that," Sarah replied, a hint of vulnerability leaking through her guarded tone. "But there's this nagging feeling that there will always be this imbalance. Can we really support each other fully without sacrificing parts of ourselves? I don't want to be the one who holds you back, nor do I want you to feel forced into a mold that doesn't fit." Jake's mind raced, catching fire with unspoken fears. Could their relationship withstand the pressure of ambition? He could feel the weight of his aspirations, intermingled with a desperate need to preserve what they had built together. Right now, it didn't feel like he was just arguing for himself, he was also advocating for Sarah's dreams, the essence of who they both were. As they continued to navigate uncharted waters, he felt a revelation emerge within him. What if we reshaped our definitions of success together? He proposed, encouraged by a spark of inspiration. What if our paths diverge for a time, but we support each other while pursuing our individual goals? We don't have to force-fit our ambitions. But what does that look like? She challenged, a frown creasing her brow, clearly torn between eagerness and skepticism. How do we ensure that this doesn't turn into resentment? The sunlight filtered through Jake's window, casting shadows that mirrored the uncertainty of their conversation. It struck him how their relationship was evolving. It was as if they were sculptors molding a new identity together, one that was neither wholly his nor hers. But that realization carried a weight, a reminder that reshaping something often required pain. How about we commit to regular check-ins? He suggested, hesitantly. An honest exchange, maybe even a dedicated time where we each candidly address our ambitions and feelings. Tracking how we grow, to ensure we're not standing in each other's shadows. Sarah considered his proposition, her expression softening momentarily. That could work. But we also need to set boundaries. I don't want either of us losing sight of who we are. An understanding passed between them, bridging the distance created by their doubts. It felt fragile yet profoundly significant. As they reached an agreement, Jake felt a wave of hope flower within. This wasn't the end but the start of something deeper, while navigating the nuances of their discussion, a more pressing issue tugged at the back of his mind. The notion that perhaps the real challenge lay not just in aligning their ambitions but also confronting external expectations: family, friends, society. As Sarah mentioned her hesitations, he found himself questioning if they could sustain these newfound commitments without external interference. Sarah, I feel like there is something more at stake, he said, his voice serious as a burgeoning anxiety gnawed at him. Is there anything else bothering you? She hesitated, biting her lip as though weighing the consequences of her next words. There is something I haven't told you. Jake's heart leapt. Introspection now shifted to the looming possibility of unveiling hidden truths that had the potential to alter everything. Would this conversation further intertwine their paths, or would it rip asunder the fragile fabric of trust they were beginning to weave? Jake's mind spun, a whirlwind of anticipation and anxiety. As Sarah's eyes dropped to the floor, he sensed the impending revelation pulsing in the air like an electric charge. The intensity of the moment wrenched at him, each heartbeat echoing the unsettling question, what truth lay behind that hesitating silence? Jake, she finally managed, lifting her gaze back to his, the familiar warmth replaced with an edge of somberness. I've been offered a promotion, a chance to lead a new project in my company. It's a huge opportunity, but it requires relocation to Seattle. I'd have to move there within 2 months. The world around him dimmed, her words striking him like a blow to the chest. This was the unspoken worry that had hovered just out of sight. The distance. The very real possibility that their ambitions might pull them apart, at the very moment they were trying to navigate a new understanding. Seattle? He echoed, the word tasting bitter, the implications unfurled before him like a dark cloud, obscuring the clarity he thought they had begun to achieve. What about us? He asked, his voice trembling as it clawed through the constricting grip of disbelief. What does this mean for our plans? I had hoped. I thought it could be something we could work through, Sarah replied, her confidence wavering. But this isn't just a project, it's a pivotal moment in my career, Jake. I can't take a step back now. Jake could feel the fabric of their agreement unraveling. The thought of her moving, chasing dreams while he remained anchored in place, weighed heavily on him. He could either double down on his aspirations fighting to grow as he envisioned, or risk losing something monumental that had just begun to take shape. I'm proud of you, Sarah, he said, struggling to latch on to that optimism. I really am. But I'm scared we're walking a path that's leading us apart instead of together. A moment of stillness enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant hum of city life beyond their window. The dissonance between their aspirations lay bare, bright and unsettling. Could he encourage her to pursue this dream while grappling with his own insecurities? Most importantly, could he support her without losing sight of himself? Maybe this is an opportunity for us both, he proposed, taking a breath to steady himself. If you move, it forces us to evaluate what we truly want. And who knows? Perhaps I could find opportunities over there too. We can redefine our ambitions together, just from a distance. Sarah appeared torn between wanting to embrace the idea and fearing its implications. But what if this doesn't work? What if we drift apart, Jake? Is it worth the risk? What's the alternative? He countered, his voice taking on a firmness he didn't entirely feel. Are we meant to be sidelined by this fear? We can't let that dictate our choices. We owe it to ourselves to explore all possibilities, even if that means giving ourselves space temporarily. He felt renewed conviction swell within him, a dawning realization that his personal growth depended on the courage to face their realities. Could he become something greater, even if it meant learning to navigate life without the constant presence of Sarah back home? Perhaps I can join you later, once I've established myself, or we could meet halfway at crucial moments, he continued, each word building the vision of adaptability. Sarah mulled this over, her expression softening as she weighed his proposal against her own fears. This isn't just about me anymore, is it? She finally said, a mix of relief and trepidation swirling in her features. No, Jake replied quietly, the magnificent weight of their intertwined fates dawning on him. It's about both of us finding our ways, supporting each other, even if the paths are parallel for a time. But even amidst the burgeoning hope, another unease stirred beneath the surface. He couldn't shake the feeling that this talk was only the beginning of deeper struggles, one that might surface if their ambitions began to clash rather than coexist. As they leaned into the conversation, Jake couldn't help but wonder how they would respond when real-life challenges tested their commitments. What external forces lurked on the horizon, ready to impact their fragile resolve? Let's take it one step at a time, he said, seeking some semblance of a plan. But we must hold each other accountable no matter how hard it gets. Little did he know, the real test was yet to come, following shadows from their pasts that would soon confront their ambitions in ways they never anticipated. Jake stood on the precipice of change, every moment with Sarah echoing in his thoughts. The starkness of the impending distance stirred something deep within him, a mixture of fear and the relentless desire to pursue his own aspirations. He took a step back, mentally distancing himself from the chaos of emotions swirling in his mind. What did he truly want, outside the orbit of Sarah's success? He spent the subsequent days grappling with his responsibilities, shifting between supporting Sarah's ambitions and confronting his insecurities. Every morning brought a new beckoning towards creativity within his own career. Jake had long admired the ambitious projects his startup was conceptualizing. Perhaps now was the time to dive headfirst into their ideals. The work atmosphere buzzed with excitement as projects cascaded through phases of development, yet Jake felt dislodged. While his colleagues immersed themselves in brainstorm sessions, he found himself admiring their passion from a distance, trapped under the weight of his own quiet fears. Doubt crept in as he envisioned his path without Sarah. Could he really flourish while maintaining their connection? That evening, after a long day at work, he flopped onto the couch, starved for inspiration. His laptop, an intimidating spectator, sat before him, waiting. It was a constant reminder of the project proposal he had once neglected, a community-based initiative aimed at assisting local artisans in marketing their crafts online. Suddenly, clarity struck. He grabbed a notebook, feverishly scribbling ideas that had lain dormant for too long. Empowerment through art, he murmured, the words igniting a fire within him. He envisioned helping others while building a network that could resonate even across state lines. Each line he penned carved a path toward his own growth. Still, haunting echoes of Sarah's planned departure whispered in the back of his mind, dragging him down. Could he muster the energy to elevate both their goals? The realization solidified into a conviction: his success must uniquely define him, even if they were miles apart. By the end of the week, Jake found himself reconnecting with old friends and mentors. He began attending local events to promote his newfound vision, sharing his quirky proposal with anyone interested. The positive feedback buoyed his spirits. Volunteers stepped forward, pledging time and expertise to his cause. Each encouraging word chipped away at the doubt that had clouded his motivations. This was a balance he could maintain. Evenings were now imbued with a sense of purpose. His phone buzzed frequently with updates about Sarah's new project. She seemed to swim in an ocean of opportunity, while he took tentative strokes toward his own uncharted waters. As proud as he was of her achievements, a simmering jealousy sometimes threatened to drown his joy. Why hadn't he pursued goals with the same vigor before? One Friday afternoon, as he prepared an important pitch for potential investors, the phone call from Sarah rang in, pulling him momentarily from his own whirlwind. He answered eagerly. "How's it going? Any updates?" Her voice was filled with excitement. "I got a lead on the initial project team, they're ready to meet us next week. I feel like everything is falling into place." "That's great news," he replied, hoping his feigned enthusiasm could mask his gnawing uncertainty. "I'm really excited for you." However, that excitement was coupled with a realization. Could their spheres truly exist in harmony, or would the burgeoning distances spiral into chaos? As time progressed, Jake dove deeper into his project, nurturing it. He had learned to confront disheartening moments head-on, experiencing a strange thrill each time he overcame another obstacle. Sarah's absence began to redefine his understanding of support, which now held new connotations. The absence may not symbolize separation but might birth a different kind of unity. The week leading up to Sarah's move was particularly treacherous. A storm brewed within him, oscillating between undulating pride and crippling anxiety. The balance he fought to maintain now felt like a taut wire. He readied himself for their final discussions, anticipating the potential fractures ahead, yet as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, a new question loomed, whispering insistently: how would he respond to the challenges that crossed their paths? Would ambition and love stand resilient together, or would one inevitably overpower the other? Jake strode into the uncertain hours of the night, paving the way for impending revelations yet to come, knowing that everything hinged on one monumental choice. Jake awoke to the bright light of a new day filtering through his curtains, feeling a tug of urgency in his chest. There was no doubt a transformation within him had begun, ignited by the unwavering intention to carve out his own identity, separate from Sarah's luminous success. He knew he had to channel the energy from his resolve into tangible action. The idea of empowerment through art had shifted from a mere notion to an urgent mission, one that demanded nurturing and focus. As Sarah prepared for her big leap. At breakfast, he hovered over a simple cup of coffee and toast, his mind already racing with the details of his pitch, running through statistics, stories, and potential collaborators. The confluence of his plans and the pressure of Sarah's imminent departure created a unique tension. He let the fear of uncertainty mix with excitement, like two polar forces fighting for dominance. Could he leverage this moment, twist the knife of anxiety into a blade for cutting through obstacles? By midday, the hustle of the office felt like an orchestra poised for a crescendo. Jake ventured into the brainstorming sessions, allowing himself to be swept up by his colleagues' energy. They tossed around ideas like confetti, creating an environment where collaboration flourished. For the first time in ages, he spoke up, offering his thoughts on how their initiative could incorporate local artisans' talent. The applause was immediate, an electrifying recognition of his contribution. It felt like a turning point. This was the balance he sought, lifting others while rising himself. Jake found himself in front of the mirror later that evening, practicing his pitch. He renewed his intention to create a platform that not only showcased artists but celebrated their stories. The telephone rang just as he stabilized his voice. It was Sarah. "Hey, how's the pitch prep going?" Her inquiry rang with genuine curiosity, oblivious to the vortex of emotions he wrestled with. "It's coming together," he replied, forcing a buoyancy into his tone. I've been thinking a lot about the integration of storytelling within the platform. Storytelling is vital, she chimed in enthusiastically. That's how we connect with those we're reaching out to. Somewhere in their converging paths, conversations about their individual goals had taken on fresh dimensions, revealing connections not as parallels, but intricate intertwining threads. The next day brought meetings filled with anticipation. As he approached the investors, he questioned whether they'd see measurable value in his vision. Minutes before his presentation, he felt his heart beat wildly, a whisper of impending vulnerability pressing at the edges of his thoughts. He took a deep breath, clamping down on the nagging self-doubt. This was his moment, pure and unadulterated. When he stepped onto the stage, the spotlight felt as bright as a sunbeam at high noon. Equipped with data he had meticulously researched, and stories of artisans burgeoning under his idea, he pitched fervently. Each point he made became a step towards fulfilling not just his dream but also an aspiration to uplift those who had long been overlooked. Feedback cascaded in waves, catching him off guard. Investors were impressed, not just by the numbers but by the potential impact. Encouraging nods and thoughtful questions made him realize his idea resonated on deeper levels. The zeitgeist of creation ignited within him a pulsing rhythm of purpose and identity where he was no longer second to Sarah's genius. Days passed in a blur of feedback iterations, refining details, and instigating collaborations. Yet, he found himself contemplating the financial aspects more urgently, as fund commitments loomed like thunderclouds. With every ounce of optimism, doubt began to creep in. What if he fell flat? Jake reached out to his mentors once more, seeking guidance and expertise. Each conversation unearthed a new perspective, unveiling hidden capacities within him. A mentor urged him to integrate an educational component into his platform, a way to equip artisans with marketing skills, a vital supplement to his core mission. The more they exchanged ideas, the clearer his vision became. As night descended on another productive workday, Jake leaned back in his chair, consumed by an unexpected rush of clarity. He envisioned a thriving ecosystem of artisans, enthusiasts, and learners, the platform breathing life into the community he desired to create. But beneath that exhilaration lay a lingering question: how would he assert his individual identity against the ever-present backdrop of Sarah's planned accomplishments? Just as he closed his laptop to leave, a notification popped up, a message from Sarah, loaded with excitement about her new team's progress. The connection between them, currently an emotional tightrope, seemed to stretch too thin. Could he forge ahead while still nurturing the fragile bond they shared? With a conflicted heart, Jake stepped toward the door. The uncertainty and potential for calamity only fueled his determination. As he stepped onto the vibrant city streets, he resolved to untangle ambition from insecurity, building something remarkable without losing himself in the shadows of his fiancée's achievements. With every step he took, he wondered, was he truly ready for the confrontation that lay ahead, not just with the world but within himself? As Jake stood before the window of his childhood home, he couldn't shake the weight of his choices. The reflection staring back at him was the man he was meant to be, a blend of ambition and authenticity, forged from the warmth of his mother's teachings and the trials of his recent journey. The realization hit like a thunderclap: he had conquered self-doubt and emerged resolute. He had begun to truly understand the balance between love, ambition, and family values. Through the labor of his passion project empowerment through art, he had not only defined his career aspirations but also welcomed the unrelenting call of responsibility toward his roots. Jake felt the thrilling surge of his newly found identity, solidifying his stance in a world that often pressured individuals to prioritize success over sincerity. His phone buzzed, a message from Sarah brightening the screen. "Let's talk tonight." Intrigued yet apprehensive, Jake pondered the last conversation they had filled with uncertainty and the looming threat of separation. He was ready for this moment. He had grown, developed a greater appreciation for his foundation, and now possessed the clarity to articulate what truly mattered in both their lives. With a deep breath, Jake built the framework for their conversation. No longer would he concede his ambitions for the sake of a relationship that was gradually revealing cracks under the weight of incompatible dreams. He composed himself, resolved to approach Sarah with compassion. He recognized that their growth would only come from open dialogue about their ambitions, one that intertwined rather than destructed. That evening, as he prepared for their meeting, Jake reflected on the investments of time and emotion that led him to this point. He reveled in the pride of having established a viable community platform, enabling artisans to amplify their voices. He had completed his first pitch to enthusiastic investors who believed in his vision. It was a tangible achievement, a landmark of his transformation from a millionaire's partner seeking validation into a visionary leader carving his place in the world. Sarah arrived, her bright demeanor dimmed by the weight of the conversation ahead. After a brief exchange, Jake took the reins. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he began, gauging her response. "About us, our ambitions, and what it means to support each other." He spoke from the heart, drawing upon the lessons he had formulated during his time of introspection. He articulated how their individual pursuits could eventually create a stronger union, unraveling the notion that success was solely a solitary journey. "We don't have to compromise our dreams, Sarah. What if we embrace this moment as an opportunity to grow, even if it means being apart for a bit? I want to support your ambitions just as fiercely as you push yours." Sarah listened intently, her expression shifting as she absorbed his words. "But what if it doesn't work? What if it only drives us further apart?" she questioned softly, concern etching her brow. Jake felt a surge of determination. "Then we will address those challenges when they come. But we must try, Sarah. True support sometimes requires distance and trust. The love we share is not bound by proximity." He emphasized their shared vision of what was still possible, that he could see her conflicts wrestling silently behind her eyes, yet he sensed a glimmer of understanding beginning to spark. Their dreams need not be at odds but could intertwine, creating a future that honored their journeys while preserving the love they cherished. As the conversation flowed, Jake instinctively knew they were not merely reconstructing their relationship, they were laying down the very foundation of their future. Each exchange became a testament to authenticity and growth, a declaration that defending their individualistic pursuits could, in fact, fortify their bond. The evening concluded with renewed hope. Jake felt an extraordinary sense of accomplishment as they arrived at a resolution that embraced both expansive ambitions emerged, yet reverberated with mutual support. He stepped back, welcomed the undeniable evolution within him as well as how he navigated the complexities of love and growth. Jake now stood confidently on the precipice of his future, a blend of dreams and familial values, not merely as Evelyn's son, but as Jake, a creator, a leader, a man ready to impact the world, even if it meant doing so alongside his beloved Sarah. Their paths parallel yet intertwined, and as their hands clasped, Jake realized this was just the beginning. He had fully embraced his identity, integrating the nurture of familial love with the daring pursuit of his ambitions, ready to define success in ways both new and profound. The transformation was complete. Jake had not only achieved insight but a resolute acceptance of his future. Now, dear viewers, it's your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that fuel personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm because your support matters immensely. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. You have thoughts, so share them. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread this journey of empowerment.